Im nächsten Slot beim Customer Focus Summit 2024 begeben wir uns jetzt auf eine Reise in eines meiner persönlichen Lieblingsländer nach Schweden. Dort ist der Hauptsitz eines Unternehmens, das in den zurückliegenden Jahren nicht nur die Art und Weise, wie wir online bezahlen, revolutioniert hat, sondern auch viel Gesprächsstoff im Internet erzeugt hat. KI, künstliche Intelligenz, spielt natürlich auch hier in diesem Unternehmen eine stetig wachsende Rolle. Wir zeigen jetzt mal einen kleinen Film und dann wisst ihr schon, über welches Unternehmen ich hier spreche und ich gehe schon mal rüber. Ja, wir sind hier in Schweden. We are in Sweden. So the next slot will be in English. Of course, a very warm welcome at Customer Focus Summit live here from Munich, Mr. Jan Hansson, Vice President Debt Collection at Klarna in Stockholm.
Thank you.
And a very warm welcome also to you, Elias Reitter, CEO International at coeo.
Thank you.
Jan, before we delve deeper into our focus topic today, AI, a few words about Klarna and of course about you. What is Klarna and what do you do at Klarna?
Yeah, sure thing. So Klarna is, as you probably saw in the presentation video, is that we're trying to do is like being a shopping ecosystem. And but when talking about Klarna, I think that most people think about buy now, pay later, and even if there are some differences depending on market, but and nowadays we are a global company, so. We are covering quite many markets, and we have totally 150 million consumers. And one misconception that I from time to time hear regarding the consumers is that a lot of people believe that it's primarily young people that uses Klarna, and and it's also primarily women, but that is actually not true. So I think we have a customer base which is quite well represented. There are differences depending on genders, but it's still quite equal. It's like 60-40%, 60% women and 40% men. But when looking at age groups, one can say that it's definitely not the age group 18 to 25, which is the biggest. Absolutely not. It's actually 25 to 35 and 35 to 45. There is the biggest group. And something that we have seen regarding our consumers the last couple of years is that one of the groups that are growing really fast is what we call the silver surfers, meaning the elderly people. And of course, the pandemic probably had an impact on this. Because when people are getting used to use Klarna, most of the time they continue doing that, which of course is a great thing for us. And looking at the number of transactions we are handling, it's approximately like 2.5 million transactions per day. So it's quite many transactions that we are dealing with. And we have a network of like 550,000 retailers globally. Yeah. And another thing which I think it maybe could be worth mentioning here, because many people talking about buy now, pay later and pay later product. And of course, that is a big share of our product, our products. But one thing which I believe a lot of customers or people are not aware of is that actually 34% is actually direct debit, meaning that customers paying directly. So yeah, and as you can see on this slide, we are covering most of the countries in Europe, and of course also US, Canada, and recently launched in Mexico as well, and covering Australia and New Zealand. So yeah, and maybe I should say something about myself as well. I've been working at Klarna for almost 15 years, so quite a long time. Back in the days when I started, we were 120 people only operating on the Nordic market at that time. And within my responsibility for the debt collection and the debt sales pieces, at that time we were running everything in-house and never outsourced anything. And we continue doing that actually when we launched in Germany, Netherlands and Austria as well. But since quite many years now, we have decided to outsource everything instead. And because debt collection it is important out of many aspects, but it's never been and it's never will be any part of our core business. And today we are, as I mentioned, we are covering most of the European countries and the US and Canada, and that is also my responsibility when it comes to debt collection.
Okay. So when we look at this historical development of Klarna in the past 15 years, when you came from Nordic countries to worldwide access, what are the differences between Nordic market and other markets, and how do you manage this?
Yeah, there are of course a lot of differences, but at the same time there are also quite many similarities. But to start with, one can say that the access for credit information and the possibilities to actually be very, very certain about identifying the customers. So for example, on the Nordic market, we have social security numbers, which is official and very easy accessible. And when we launched in Germany, for example, this was the first challenge. How do we make sure that we actually can identify the customers without forcing the consumers to provide us with too much of information? And that is actually, I would say, the foundation for everything, that we need to be very, very sure about how we identify customers and how we deal with underwriting the credit assessment process. That is the key. Then, of course, there are also differences in terms of which products different countries prefer. But when comparing like the Nordics to Germany, I would say it's pretty much the same. In the Nordics, the pay later, the invoice product is also very popular, and that has been the case in Germany as well. But when we launched in US, that was a total different story. So there are differences, but there are also a lot of similarities.
Okay. When your company history in short would be, you said it in on your slides, also from BNPL to a shopping app. That sounds quite different for me. One is a payment system, the other one is a shopping assistant or something like this. What is a shopping app for you?
Yeah, so when looking at the consumer journey, which we are trying to optimize for, we have looked at this from a consumer point of view. So the first step is, of course, that as a consumer, when you're considering actually to buying something, you want to make sure that you get the best price and how the delivery working, etc. And therefore, so the first step, which we can call the discovery phase, there we for a couple of years ago, for example, we acquired a company called PriceRunner, and that is a company that are specialized in comparing prices. Because of course, for me as a consumer, this is important, because if I want to buy a new pair of sneakers or whatever it is, and I've decided, okay, I really would like to buy those, then of course I would like to get the best price. And from a Klarna perspective, that would of course be great if we could provide and help the consumers with that. So that was one of the reasons for why we acquired PriceRunner and why we have this functionality within the Klarna app. Another thing which I think makes sense to mention here is the browser extension, meaning that of course, Klarna does not have all retailers all over the world, but actually when you're using the Klarna app and you browse for a product and you find a store which Klarna yet do not have a contract with, you can still make that purchase, which of course also creates a value for the consumers, so they're not limited to the Klarna signed contract. So, and the second step is the checkout, which means that we want to be able to provide the consumers with a possibility to choose how to pay. And that is, of course, from the very beginning, our core business. And maybe worth mentioning here is that when you're buying things, you quite common is that you have some kind of loyalty card with discounts, etc. So this is something that we also have added based upon consumer preferences. The third step is the post-purchase step, and when you have ordered something, then of course you want to get the goods as soon as possible. You want to be able to keep track of the delivery. When does it arrive? In which way will it be delivered? But also when you receive the goods, sometimes you want to return the goods, and therefore we have also simplified that part. And the fourth, which I personally, due to the fact that what I'm working with, or my main responsibilities, I think is one of the most important thing, is how to manage your personal financing. So in our app, we have a great budget tool, because especially when looking at people that sometimes have difficulties in paying, what I, based on my experience, which is very long within the debt collection industry, what I quite often see is that it's primarily driven by that people have not planned their financials in a good way. So, and of course it can happen to anyone that 1 month you get a lower salary or you get higher cost, and so therefore I think that the budgeting tool, maybe it sounds boring, but to me it's very, very crucial for your personal financing. And another thing which I also would like to highlight here is, if you use the Klarna app, we also provide you with great tools to be able to see, to categorize what you actually have bought last year or last month, so you actually can follow that, because I think one can just go to oneself that we quite often actually forget what we buy. So if you have it in front of you, it gives you a better picture, which is very crucial when it comes to planning of your personal finances.
Okay. From a debt collection point of view, Elias, Klarna and coeo have an intensive collaboration for many years now, including on international level. A little bit later we will have a look at a practical case, but would you give us a little insight about your cooperation?
Yeah, so just as you said, coeo provides Klarna with debt collection services for quite a long time now, more than a decade. And what I always found really interesting with the Klarna priorities, of course, obviously, Klarna wants to have a good return, wants to have unpaid receivables being paid. Nevertheless, the focus of Klarna on customer experience, from my perspective, is really outstanding. Yeah. So for Klarna, it's always important to see debt collection as one element of the whole life cycle of a customer. So it simply doesn't end when a customer goes into debt collection. So meaning debt collection is really an integral, important part of the entire value chain. Because a lot of customers being in debt collection and pay and behave well will be return customers and will be able to buy at Klarna again. And the beauty of our collaboration is that Klarna was inviting us to come to a couple of more countries. So we are serving now Klarna in 6 countries. Mm-hmm. And what we're always trying to do is to mirror the Klarna strategy when it comes to customer experience. So we have an award-winning, sorry for doing a little bit of a commercial now. We have an award-winning service portal, and we really take pride in having the best inbound and outbound communications, all sorts of payment types that we offer. And obviously we are doing a good job for Klarna. That's why we have this intensive collaboration. And as we are talking about AI, what we really invest a lot is data analytics. So we have a huge team and try to find out all sorts of patterns in the huge universe of data we have.
Okay, so that's a little bit like, sounds like a similar culture, yeah, customer centricity and so on. We'll have a little bit deeper look on that in the next question, but I want to know, why is this a perfect match between your understanding of customer centricity and the one you experience from Klarna?
So it probably developed because of such a long, being almost a business couple. That probably you're getting nearer and more similar over the more than 1 decade we worked together. Yeah? And as I said, we are mirroring the strategy of Klarna when it comes to customer experience.
How important is customer experience to your success at Klarna? I think it's very important, but what are the main facts?
Yeah, absolutely. It's absolutely crucial because for a company like Klarna, which is heavily dependent on what actually customers think about us, and we all want to be loved by our customers, and so. We have been and we are spending very much time on see how can we actually improve our businesses and how can we improve our offering to the consumers. And that is actually independently where in the process we're talking. So even in the absolute last stages, which we still can call the debt collection pieces, which I'm responsible for, that is still the same. Sending a consumer to debt collection is something that we, sorry to say, but we don't want to do that. Yeah. And we have put in a lot of effort in trying to decrease the share of transactions to debt collection. And actually, I just looked at the German figures since we are in Germany, and the last month, the last mature month that we measured, it was like 0.85% of our transactions that actually later on entered debt collection. And meaning that it's less, out of 100 transactions, it's less than 1 that entering debt collection. And out of those 0.85% that entering debt collection, the majority is actually being able to be resolved during the debt collection process. And this is also something that we put a lot of emphasis in independently, which collection agency we cooperate with, that the transition from Klarna to the debt collection agency must be as seamless as possible. It should not be a total different experience. Of course, it is an increase of the sense of urgency, but it should not jeopardize the customer relation, because I think a lot of people, when they think about debt collection, they consider that as something being aggressive, but it's actually the total opposite. And that we can many times see that the better you are in treating people, the better result you achieve. And also, from a Klarna perspective, of course we would like to get paid for the money owed to us, but it's also extremely important how the collection agencies are doing that. And that is something that we are measuring. So we look at actually out of all cases that have been sent to debt collection and being resolved, how many of those customers are trying and coming back and make a new purchase. We call it retention rate. And that doesn't necessarily mean that we will approve all, because still it will be a new credit assessment. Yeah. But just the indication of that customers actually trying to make a new purchase, that is an indication of that, okay, the debt collection process was actually quite okay, which is extremely important for us.
Yeah, this point, extreme experience, is a very interesting point to me, because I don't know, how does a customer feel, or how do you want a customer to feel? A customer of Klarna or a customer of your merchant? Because maybe the merchant has an interest in staying in the game. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, and it is a responsibility for Klarna to make sure, because if we would fail, that of course could have a negative impact also on the merchant brand. But we share the same interest. Protecting the Klarna brand, protecting the merchant brand, that is the same thing. So, and the best way of doing that is to make sure that we treat customers in a good way.
Okay. Klarna and artificial intelligence. There has been a lot of news about this in the past month and years. What role does AI play in your strategy, and how do you currently use AI?
Yeah, and I guess that you are referring to the AI assistant, which actually is taking care of. Now it's actually 2/3 of our customer service chats. So already the first month, 2/3, and which represents like more than 2 million conversations, which is a really high figure. And what I think have had the highest attention in media is probably that when looking at this work, that is actually equivalent to like 700 full-time agents. And there I think one can see the potential impact of using the AI. But I would still, and of course it has a positive impact on cost and on profit, absolutely. But I would also like to highlight the fact that this is also a way of actually improving the customer experience. Because when looking at, we are currently live with this in 23 countries. And we are offering the service in 35 languages, which also is important because we still, in all our countries, we have people that they are not native speaking. And of course the communication, if you can choose to communicate in your own native language, that absolutely helps. And we're offering this 24/7, so every day, independently of when. Of course, still most of the people, they are preferring to resolve their cases during daytime, but there are people that actually suits better to do it weekends or late in night or early mornings, which is also an important factor here. And it's also actually shortened the time for resolving those conversations, which is quite impressive. Yeah, and that is of course one initiative, and which have caught some attention in media as well. But I think this is only the beginning. We will see much more, and there are hundreds of small and medium-sized different AI initiatives going on at Klarna. And I think Klarna was quite early actually I think we were the first bank having the ChatGPT enterprise solution. And we're trying to take advantage of that in the best possible way. It's still, as always, it is a learning process, but I think Klarna is really good at that. We have the curiosity and the willingness to learn new things, and we also have really good processes for sharing information. For example, we have weekly all hands where any team actually can attend and present what they have been doing, both successes but also failures, because we can learn quite a lot from failures and also get help from others, of course.
Okay, great chances for the future, of course. Let's have a look at a practical use case for AI. You launched together with coeo in the Great Britain market, Elias.
Yeah, what we did last winter is we launched something that we call an AI quality sentinel. So a kind of a watchdog that is checking the quality. And the interesting piece is here that 100% of all customer communications are automatically quality checked. And there's a tradition in Great Britain to do only like randomly picking a couple of cases, 30 cases, and then do with the quality assurance team a check on those telephone conversations, for example. And with using AI, we have really put this now onto the next level, like 100% of all communications are quality checked.
Yeah. To make it a little bit more transparent, I think we have a small film.
In a bustling call centre, our team handle calls on a daily basis, but ensuring the quality of these interactions is crucial. So let's dive into the process. Meet our QA agent, tasked with assessing the quality of calls. They use a bespoke questionnaire and scorecarding process called the QA portal. The QA agent answers specific questions related to the call. Did the agent ask the correct number of data protection questions? Was the customer's issue resolved effectively? Each question helps evaluate the call's quality and identify any potential areas for improvement. This entire process, from assessment to feedback, takes roughly 15 minutes per call. By harnessing the power of artificial intelligence, we can now assess 100% of our interactions.
First, the call is securely downloaded from our contact center solution to our on-premise data center using encrypted channels. Then the call is transcribed using a local speech recognition model. By handling transcription internally, we ensure not only greater accuracy, but also 100% security of customer data. We are the data processor and we take that responsibility seriously. Next, we redact any personally identifiable information from the transcript using another on-premise AI model trained to identify over 50 parameters. With the call transcribed and redacted on-premise, we're ready to utilise large language models to perform the scorecarding process. We send an anonymised transcript to an external AI model, which validates a series of questions against it, just like our standard scorecarding process. Based on the AI responses, we score the interaction and present a final score for the agent interaction with the customer. Most impressively, we provide qualitative feedback, offering hints to the agent for improvement based on direct suggestions from the AI model.
Yeah, very impressive practical case. Makes it quite clear to me how AI can affect debt collection in the future. The next question goes a little bit to both of you. How important will AI be in debt collection in the coming years? You're investing a lot of money and work into the development of models like this. What will be the future? Elias, maybe.
So, should I start?
You can start.
I believe this is going to be the most important topic for the upcoming years. And why? It's again the customer experience. Jan was mentioning the 24/7. You were mentioning the multi-languages. I see a couple of more points, like sometimes we see customers who are ashamed of being in debts. So it might be even easier to talk to something that is recognized as an AI machine and not a human being.
Yeah, okay.
And it might be even that one day the AI gives a more precise answer to what the customer wants than a human agent will do. And a lot of our inbound communication comes via email. And we're always trying to answer very fast, but it doesn't happen today that a human agent would receive an email and answer immediately. But with an AI-driven email response machine, this will be really seen for the customer immediately. So then there's a kind of a ping-pong immediate solving the case and not having the latency of getting an answer the next day or something. So in terms of customer experience, this is really the big thing.
Yeah, I totally agree. I just want to go back actually and comment on the quality assurance because it's not only it's a big thing, it's a big challenge in UK and US for the collection agencies, but this is actually something that we also spend quite a lot of time on because we also on a monthly basis we are requesting recorded calls, random ones, which we actually quality assure on our side. And of course, first of all, one need to keep in mind that this is what we do is like a very, very small sample because we could not, of course, listen to all the calls. But at the same time, it is very important because at the end of the day, how we and how our partners communicate with the consumers, that is what decides everything. And as far as I know, and I meet quite a lot of different collection agencies all over the world, I think you actually are the first or one of the first at doing this. And I see a lot of positive impact by this. Also for the people actually working and not being being measured on like a random call. Here we will actually get the full overview. We all have bad days or bad hours during the day. If you're lucky or unlucky, you will probably have a good or a bad score in the quality assurance. So I think this is absolutely amazing. So I'm really looking forward to see the full impact of this. But other than that, I agree. Being sent to debt collection, There are some differences depending on country, I would say, due to the fact that the consequences of being sent can differ. But in general, I would say that for a lot of people, it's some kind of stigma. If it's possible for consumers to resolve the debts without having a personal contact, there's a lot of consumers that would choose that. So therefore, I think this will be very important.
Yeah. Okay. But when implementing artificial intelligence in companies like you at Klarna and you at coeo, what are the biggest challenges? Maybe start.
I would say it depends very much on the company, how mature you are in terms of resources and knowledge, etc. But in general, I would say that it is challenges, and quite often it takes longer time than, as always, when you're running projects than you first expected. But if I should give any suggestions, I would say that if you are not an organization which is really mature in this, I would say that don't necessarily go for the big fish first. You can start with smaller ones, more as a learning process. Even if you went on the big fish immediately, but you managed to do it. That is probably my best suggestion.
I would say, like in all new technology projects, you have to have some sort of starting point, and these are the people that you employ. And it's not easy to recruit the right people who have AI knowledge at this point of time. Yeah? So probably this was the very early starting point. Yeah? And then it is like with every project, you can do a project in a good way or you fail. Yeah? Simply because it's not AI specific, it's just running a good project. But if you ask me about AI specifically, if we think back, remember in the early times of the internet, we had many more search engines than just Google and Bing. Yeah? There were like, I don't know, 40, 50, 60 of them. And this is what we observe today in the AI field. Yeah? So you have so many potential service providers. It's really the question, what is the right horse to bet on? So who will be the winner in this market for us as an external service provider? That's probably one of the most interesting questions that we are facing now.
Of course, yeah.
I was thinking if you were going to talk about Alta Vista now.
Yeah, one challenge, of course, is also the regulation topic, especially in the European Union. How does this regulation in the area of AI affect your plans for the future?
I think it's a little bit too early to say, but in general, when it comes to regulation, at least from a Klarna point of view, we are embracing a regulation as long as they are proportionate. But to be able to make that happen, I think we as actors on the market, we also need to take our responsibilities and inform regulators. We can of course not inform them about everything, but we can tell them our story, what is important for us, how do we look at this, and because when the more information and the more well-informed regulators are, the better regulations, I would say. Then of course when we talk about European Union and directive, another risk with that we sometimes see is that when each and every member state is going to implement this directive into a regulation, there is always room for interpretation. And sometimes countries interpret the regulation or the directive slightly different, which I'm not claiming it's a big problem, but it's definitely causing some friction, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's just paraphrasing what Jan said. We are actually preparing for having not only one European regulation for AI usage, it's going to be national ones. And this is what, again, we try to mirror in our systems, to be able to have different logics per country.
Okay. So if we finally have our last question, will be a little bit nothing to do with AI, but future of Klarna maybe. A topic that was discussed in the media for a long time. Jan, when is the Klarna IPO coming?
Okay, honest answer, I don't know. I don't know more than you. So, but even if I would have known, I would not be able to tell you. So, but I don't know. So,
Okay.
that is a question for our CXO or CEO and the board, of course. So I don't know.
Okay, thank you very much. We will see this in the future. So very nice to have you here at Customer Focus. Thank you very much for being on stage for today, and until next time, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.